Hey Dave, we've obviously talked a lot about the starting pitching. I think Bauer was actually on TV the other day and was kind of talking about competitions he has with kind of Bueller and things like that. Do you see those guys' performances kind of elevating each other's?
Yeah, I do. I think it's certainly and it should be. I think it's a friendly competition. It's just raising the bar for each guy, and which ultimately helps the Dodgers win baseball games. So they all get along. They're all pull for one another. They're all different, but certainly, they want to pick each other up. They want to raise the bar for each other. Yes.
And how are I don't know if there's any update on Muncy or Barnes or how either of those guys are doing.
Muncy's still stiff. My hope as he gets treatment, he'll be available off the bench to pinch hit. And then Barnesy is sore as expected. There's some swelling, and he gutted it out for us last night. So he'll be available to catch in an emergency, and hopefully, do the same thing on Tuesday, and then we'll see where he's at on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Next question is from Kelvin Washington. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave. Staying with the starters and Trevor Bauer. He's obviously had a really good season. He's something about him on the road, though, only giving up 11 runs, 7 games. How much do you attribute to that? Obviously, he's a gamer, but just kind of the personality that he has. He embraces the hate. He embraces the crowd going at him and really lives for those moments.
I don't know the answer. I think certainly on the road it's more hostile, and so he might feed off that, which we all know he probably does. But I don't know if that's all to kind of the results of the splits home road. But I just love the compete. He's always prepared, and I do know he loves pitching at home. But I feel good every time he takes them out, I can tell you that.
And you guys haven't been able to really get any hits. I obviously got a bunch of walks on Friday. Are you seeing anything at bats or at the plate that offensively you're kind of wanting to tweak a little bit?
No, I think we're taking good at bats. I think that, in particular, Justin and Mookie are taking really good swings, just missing some pitches. But they're still taking walks when they're there. But I think as long as we stay aggressive in the strike zone, the hits, the walks, the slug, all that will come.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Next question is from Bill Plunkett. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave, what progress are you seeing in Cody Bellinger's at bats lately?
I think he's staying in the strike zone. I like the way he stayed on the backdoor breaking ball yesterday. I just think he's just seeing the baseball well. All the hits and the slug, I do believe that'll come. My encouragement is just go out there and take each at bat individually. Don't look at the scoreboard as far as average. I think that he's one good series away from everything lining up. So I think he's taking really good at bats.
How hard do you think that is for him not to look at the batting average and the other numbers and try to play catch up?
It's not easy. I think that most players will probably say they don't pay attention, but they do. And I think to get that out of your head and just to focus on each game, each at bat, it'll be there. He's just so talented. And like I said, I think he's seeing the baseball really well. I think mechanically he's in a really good spot. And I really see him taking off, and it's going to be fun to watch.
And with Albert, we've talked a lot about his clubhouse presence and the impact he's made there. What do you think of what he's given you at the plate?
I think he's given us good at bats. He doesn't throw away at bats. I think the lazy way to look at it is, as far as production. But I think if you look within the at bats and what he does, the presence on the bench when he's not starting, to give that left-hander a third at bat or to take a quality at bat, that's a lot of value. So it's still an adjustment for him as far as not starting a game, then coming into a game. But His at-bat quality has been very consistent for us.
And with Muncy, are you confident he's going to be ready to play on Tuesday?
I'm hopeful, not necessarily confident. I'm hopeful, but if it's not Tuesday, then it's Wednesday. And if it's not Wednesday, then, then we'll have another conversation.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Next question is from Fabiana Adaya. Go ahead.
Hey Dave, after hours start, he sort of said he was gonna take a dive and sort of try to figure out some of the causes of the home runs he's been giving up. Have you guys been able to sort something out as the sort of analytic stuff about what has been leading to some of the homers?
You're talking about Trevor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We took a little bit of a dive. I think a little bit is maybe a little bit of sequencing, maybe a little bit of just bad pitches, to be quite honest. So I think all that stuff will correct itself, and he's just not going to give up the slug as far as homers at this pace. It never has. So again, we've looked at it, but there was really nothing telling outside of just not executed pitches.
And then with Mookie, obviously he had the really good series against St. Louis, but it's 60 plate appearances or so without a homer for him. Is the confidence the slugs can come as the hits start to come with him?
Yeah, I think so. He'll homer within the next few days, but he's taking really good swings, taking really good at bats, just missing some pitches. But yeah, there'll be some homers coming soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Last questions from Dylan Hernandez. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, Dylan.
So, with this crackdown on the foreign substance stuff supposedly coming down, is this something, given that, right, if a guy gets suspended or something, this is something that's going to affect the entire team. Obviously, it can affect a rotation. Is this something that you guys have addressed as a team? Have you guys talked about this in any way?
We have not talked about this as a team. I think that there's things that are kind of coming out through the media, through Major League Baseball, through the Players Association. So no one really knows kind of how it's going to shake out, but guys are certainly aware of it. And our guys are really in tune with the Players Association and the information they're getting. So there's a lot of chatter, but as far as addressing the team as a whole or pitching staff as a whole, we haven't done that.
Now, have you taken any inventory on who's using stuff and who's not, just so that, let's say if there is actual enforcement here and guys have to kind of play it clean, that you have a better idea of say who might be coming out of the bullpen for you?
I have not. I think that guys are aware of what's going on and will make necessary changes. But I think right now I'm not gonna. I haven't done inventory, and the guys I trust to go out there and get guys out, I'm gonna continue to go to.
Don't you want to know?
No, I don't. I'm not as curious as you are, Dylan.
Well, right, but if I'm going if it's the 8th inning and if I think some guy's spin rate might go down by 300 RPMs, I would want to know that.
I still think that he's going to get guys out and execute pitches.
All right. Well, do you think that this stuff is cheating?
I think that I don't. I think that cheating is more of when rules are imposed or in place and you break them. But I think that we're getting to that point. And I think that, as I do understand it, that players that do get caught using a foreign substance that's not allowed by Major League Baseball will be deemed cheaters. But up to this point, I think that the line is kind of blurred, and that's just kind of players are going to use whatever advantage they can when things are blurred.
It sounds like some players are bothered, at least again, just in stuff that I've read, of the fact that how flagrant it's become in some cases, right? Guys have stuff in their gloves and you see a guy, obviously sticking his hand in there and stuff. Whereas, probably back in your day, right, when you played, people were a little bit more, there was an art to hiding it. Does that affect how you feel about this stuff at all? I mean, do you get offended at all when you just see a guy just say just stick his hand in his glove as opposed to maybe the catcher going behind his shin guard or something and slyly applying something?
There's there's certainly an art to things, but I'll say this, Dylan, is back when I was playing, guys were scuffing a baseball, and you could deem that as cheating. But it's a competitive advantage. There's gamesmanship to it and art, as you said. Maybe not so blatant, but in every era, there's always something that position players and pitchers are trying to get a competitive advantage.
Baseball did let the players know, right, okay, we at least disapprove of this. Maybe, again, the enforcement thing has kind of been the question, right? I mean, is it too much to ask players to kind of follow rules? Or, maybe could you explain to the layperson why it's so hard for rules to be followed if there is no, right? If there is what is it? I'm sorry, I'm losing the word here. But basically, if there are no penalties, is it just too much to ask people to, kind of follow rules on the basis of just sportsmanship?
I just don't think that totally, not even just, it's not just baseball, it's sports and it's life in general. If there's not rules, distinct rules and consequences, people push limits. That's just the way the world works, life works. I do appreciate that Major League Baseball is trying to impose some rules and consequences or penalties. I am concerned of it being in place during the middle of the season, as far as, because I just don't want pitchers getting hurt potentially. So we'll see. But again, when things are in place, imposed, we will adhere.
Why do you think pitchers might get hurt?
It's just the different, certain guys are used to using feeling of the baseball. And so anytime you change the consistency of a baseball at any point in time, it just changes the feel and stress of an arm. So, and again, I'm no scientist, like I've said many times before. Things that are in place in the middle of the season is just an adjustment. That's all.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.